So my birthday is coming up next month in September.
You are going on.
I don't really celebrate my birthday, but I was going to this year and I was super excited about it because I was going to go to the Polly Pocket house. This is a house, Airbnb, got this house listed. You have to sign up for it and they want to know who you are and like what you do and stuff and like why you want to go to the Polly Pocket house. So I put in the application because baby, this is my era. Okay, a life-size Polly Pocket house. Of course I'm finna be there for my birthday. But I didn't just want to just go there for just that. I want to do some other stuff. I wanted to go and check out Salem, Massachusetts. Never been there before. I'm pretty sure it looks really pretty in the fall time. I've seen a ton of pictures. So I just want to kind of go out there, kind of explore. I want to go to Boston. I absolutely loved the show Cheers. The intro of the show has like the picture of a bar and that's like an actual place. But it wasn't called Cheers, it was called something else. But the show gained so much popularity that they were like, okay, we're gonna change it to Cheers. But the downstairs don't look nothing like Cheers because that was on a Hollywood set, right? That was in California. That wasn't in Boston. But the outsidey part, that's in Boston. And I think that is so cool. And I want to go down the steps. Whenever you would open up the door, it would go, North. I don't give a fuck. I love that shit. The bar is still like a functioning bar. And then upstairs where the restaurant was in the show, it's like a replica of the set. So that would be really cool to go and see. I wanted to go check out Martha's Vineyard. I wanted to go and do some stuff. I was getting my hotels. I was getting my flights. Like I was booked and ready to go. COVID-19 is making a comeback. And no, they haven't shut anything down yet. Cause I was like looking at it because I was like, everybody is saying shut down, shut down, shut down. Schools are shutting down. This is shutting down. That's shutting down. At least in Massachusetts, it's not shutting down. Like yet. At least yet. But they've been having like super high cases for no reason. And like a lot of areas over in New England are having super high cases for no reason. And it just really pisses me off because I wanted to go. And now I'm irritated because I can't go. I'm not finna go. Everybody like, well, just wear a mask. No, just don't put yourself in a position to get COVID. Like, what are you doing? They have high cases. Why the fuck would I go there? I'm really irritated about that because we ain't finna get cut another check. They ain't nobody finna give us another check. We fucked that up with the PPP loans. Ain't nobody finna cut us another check ever again. That'll never happen again. Second part of the video, I just finished watching the show the 100 for like the fourth time ever, like all the way through. Let me tell you about this show. This show was incredibly underrated, and I really feel like it was not appreciated. It's so funny to me. A lot of CW shows are kind of like that. Not a lot, but there's some real gems in a few CW shows. The Flash was not that bad. The Flash was not that bad. And yes, I watched it all the way through. I feel like when we watch shows nowadays, it feels like they expect you to believe some great big huge character development over an episode or two because so many people have so many things to say about it and they're like we want to get the shock factor and we want to be able to have people talking about this, so there's always something grand in most episodes these days with TV shows these days. But and it really wasn't even that long ago, like maybe a decade ago that the 100 came out. But that show had 7 seasons, and each season had like somewhere between like 10 to 15 episodes. Like they did a lot with that show, and they explored a lot, and there was so much more that I wanted them to explore, but The show was already 7 fucking seasons, you know what I mean? However, I think the issue with that show is that it kept running, and each season it seemed like the same old thing, and you get really irritated relatively quickly because you're seeing the same storylines over and over and over and over and over again, and like there are characters that are telling you, if you stay here, you're gonna kill us all. And they stay, and everybody dies. There are points where it's not predictable, but there's so many elements that it's just like, yeah, you know what's gonna happen. Here's the thing. I feel that people got really irritated by the fact that the show was seemingly going nowhere. Upon first watch, it seems like it's going nowhere. You're like, okay, these storylines, they're interesting or whatever, but I'm getting irritated by it. If you make it to the end, because during season 7 it gets, you think things are going one way for 6 whole seasons, you think you going in one direction. Season 7 comes out and it makes a hard left. You almost seem put off by it because of how widely different this was. And it was on the CW, so it was coming out weekly. So if you miss an episode, you know, like you're lost. Like, what the fuck is happening right now? Like, you are completely lost. And I think that was something else that turned people off from the show. But once you get to the very end of the show, if you haven't seen the show, the ending that I'm about to talk about, it's not gonna make no sense to you. Even if you watched all the way up to season 5 and you're like, oh, I know this show, it's the end is not gonna make no sense to you. It's not gonna make no sense to you. So I guess for the people that either don't care about spoilers or have seen the show all the way through, at the end of it, when I thought it was so brilliant that we think that it's a war. This test, this final test is a war, because that's what the whole fucking show has been about. And I think that was the point. They drill it into you. War, 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 war. Everywhere they go, they destroy everything. I think they drilled that into you so hard and for so many seasons, and solidified certain character developments to the point where at the end of the season, if you've been paying attention, it all makes sense. It's not like it's just coming out of nowhere. Like, it all makes sense. So there was one character that I didn't like his arc, because he was Bellamy. So Bellamy, his whole thing was my sister, my responsibility. Everybody knew if Octavia was in trouble, it's okay, it's fine, because Bellamy on the way. He finna raise hell and high water for his baby sister. So with him completely just throwing all of that away in one episode, I didn't like that. Again, I get it. Like, the episode was supposed to be over the course of like months and a really, really long time. And there was this huge journey that this guy had to go through and all of that to get from the point to where he was to where he is now. I just don't think that he would be so devoted that he would have given up Clark the second that he saw them. Like, you got to understand, like, the time dilation and everything, it's weird. So he hadn't really been there that long. Like, he got there long enough to get maybe rested up, get a good clean shave and a shower, and some new clothes and a robe. That's it. Like, he didn't really have time to, like, when he first met Bill, when he first met him, he was like, trying to trip him up, like, oh, well, don't you, like, want to see your family or whatever. And dude was like, you're trying to test me. He's like, yeah, I'm trying to test you. I'm sorry. Like, I just had to make sure that you is who you say you is. And I even get that. But for him to have turned so much to the point where he looks at Clark, Mount Weather, y'all. Mount Weather, y'all. Like, you can't tell me after Mount Weather that he gonna look at Clark and just be like, well, she she doesn't fucking have it. Sorry, it's gone. She just told you don't say nothing about the thing, cause I ain't got it. He's she ain't got the thing. What the fuck? You don't know what the fuck finna happen. Yeah, okay. I think on some level, Bellamy understood like they're not gonna hurt them. So I understand why maybe, he wasn't afraid for them to, get caught or whatever. But like, why would you give them up? I don't know. I didn't like that. I really didn't like that at all. But again, upon first watch, you're not paying attention to a lot of this stuff. But when you watch it again, every time that I've watched the show, I've noticed something new and something interesting in the show. The whole Becca Franco character. Becca was done really well. Bill and everything, the second Bill and the second Dawn and his daughter and his son Reese and Callie and his wife, and that whole setup from before any of this shit happened, that seemed super interesting. If the show started out with like the first 2 episodes being all about this family and them getting this alert that the world is ending and blah blah blah, and if the show started from there, man, I really think it would have been completely different. Kind of how in American Horror Story Apocalypse, how they started off with the apocalypse. I feel like if it had started off with the apocalypse and then jumped 100 years ahead and then don't say nothing else about Callie or the second Dawn or anything, like you still, you see it dropped in when they find the bunker and all of that. You don't hear or see nothing else until that final season, and then you tie it all together. Yo, I think that would have been dope. I would have liked to have seen way more of that. I don't know why nobody ever thought to do this, but I would have loved to have seen how they broke apart from the bunker. So Callie ran off with 20 people, and they all had night blood so they could go into the radiation soaked lands, right? Bill and his followers went to other worlds and stuff.
Hi, it's me from the future. Ooh. Okay, I'm in the middle of editing this, and I just realized something. We don't know where they went. We don't know where the followers, the shepherd's follower, whatever, the fucking second Dawn, we don't know where those people ended up. Where did they go? Did they end up on Bardo? And then they tried to procreate, and then they were like, no, let's just use incubators instead? What happened to them? I need more information, please. And thanks.
So I'm thinking out of 20 people, 97 years separated Becca Franco and the arc coming down from where we start the show. So 20 families and 97 years. Would that be enough to splinter off into all of these different nations? Remember, because you got Tree Crew, and we saw how Tree Crew was started. But where did Asgetta come from? Where did Sangetta Crew? Where is that? Ton DC? Maybe Washington DC? Sure. But within 97 years, nobody ever told them it was just Washington, D.C. So everybody just ton DC in 97 years. I don't know. I think more time should have been spread apart from there. My grandmother lived to 101. So like 2 generations removed. I don't know. I don't see there being that big of a difference within 2 to even 3 generations of people. I just cuz the language being different, there were only soldiers were able to speak English and whatever the fuck language they ended up making up, which was a really cool thing. And I love how they explained that it was a Latin based language. This whole time, I've been thinking that, okay, well, whoever created this language must have created it based off of like shorthand text messages. Juice drain, juice down. Like, what else am I supposed to think? But I liked how they explained that. I like how they almost explained the stone, but it's still a fucking mystery because who put them there? Was it these, eternal beings or whatever? Who created these bridges to different worlds and why? Why? Because it wasn't Cadigan. Who did it and why? There are so many unanswered, like you get closure at the end of the show, but there are so many other stories that you could follow to make a brand new fucking series. I don't know. I just thought it was really smart. It was a really smart show and it was incredibly underrated. You want to know what else is a very underrated, not show? Well, okay. So seasons 1 and 2 was really shitty. Season 3, probably some of the best work on film I've ever seen in my life, next to Tarantino's work. Like season 3 was amazing. Season 4 I thought was absolutely brilliant. The show Torchwood, which was a spinoff of Doctor Who. Doctor Who is like a more family-based. Torchwood was more adult-oriented. And I think a lot of people shied away from the show because they wanted to make a distinct difference. This is Doctor Who. That's Doctor Who. This is Torchwood. Like they wanted to make such a statement with it that the first season was just, it was weird. Like the first episode, they fought a sex alien. I don't know, but whatever. Season 4 gets shit. And I don't know why. It was such a brilliant, it was great, not dialogue. And the 100, not great dialogue. Great storylines, great plots. I mean, just it was brilliant. The way that they came up with the 3 families' names: Abel March, Costerdanes, and Frines. Costerdane. Abel March, Costerdane, and Frines. Those names never existed before that show. Those sound like very common, or not even common, but they sound like, that sounds like a last name. Emily Costerdane. That sounds like a Joshua Frines. That sounds like a last name. But those have never been last names ever. And they stuck them in the show because in the show it was paramount that these 3 families had existed and they erased themselves from everything in history. You can't find anybody with those 3 last names. Isn't that wild? The whole premise of when they found Jack, oh my God, the flashbacks, because Jack, he can live, he has lived so many different lives. So he can have flashbacks to whenever and wherever. So the thought of them, going back, Jack was created in Doctor Who. So for season 4 of Torchwood, which didn't come out until, fuck, bro, David Tennant's Doctor? Which, okay, that's a long time ago. But considering he was like the what, 11th, 12th Doctor, 10th Doctor, 9th Doctor, considering he was the 9th Doctor, it's still relatively recent, but whatever. Anyways, that's a long ass time to retcon, and it wasn't even retconned. Like, he has so many different stories to tell, but when they show you the flashback of him meeting, what's his name? The guy, I forgot, but I haven't seen the show in a while. But when they have the flashback of him meeting him on Ellis Island in the 1930s, and they have this secret gay relationship and they're in love and they're having fun and it's great. And then the guy finds out Jack can't die. And then he goes to fuck off. He's like, Damon! And then that whole scene, if I can get away with putting it on YouTube, I will.
Il diavolo! Quest'uomo è il diavolo!
Jack.
Il diavolo!
I don't understand. Angelo, I don't understand. What did we do?
We can show you. È un miracolo.
A miracle? I want to see. Do it again.
Tony, prova con la pistola.
No.
Il sangue dei risorgenti farà un miracolo.
I don't know. I just don't know what it is.
How much is the butcher asking?
10,000. Not too much for something with so much potential.
And we'd own him together.
A partnership. What do you say?
Agreed.
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 It was brilliant. Like, the acting involved was brilliant. The plot line was brilliant. The ending of that scene was brilliant. It was just brilliant. It just tied everything together. And what they end up doing with the blood, that's interesting. I don't know. Maybe it was kind of ahead of its time. Maybe it did so much in season 3 that you just couldn't top it in season 4. Maybe that's what it was. Season 3 of Torchwood will have you bawling like a fucking baby at multiple scenes. Multiple scenes. There's a couple of scenes where you're just like, ooh, got a little choked up there. At the end, it gets dark. It gets really dark. It gets so dark. I would highly recommend watching season 3 of Torchwood if you ever just want something to blow your absolute fucking mind. If you want something to have a relatively happy ending, season 4 of Torchwood would be cool, or the 100. And again, going back to the 100, the ending of that was brilliant. Raven being the one, because she was the purest of them all, aside from like Jasper or Monty. But having Raven be the one to take to be able to show the final test, like, no, this is, you think this is our answer. This is, let me show you what our answer actually is. Her being the one to do it, Octavia being the one to step into the middle of gunfire and make this impassionate speech about mankind and who, if we keep killing each other, who the fuck are we gonna fight for? Like, who is left to fight for? Everybody's gonna be dead. Stop. This is stupid. You're trying to reach enlightenment. This isn't the way to get to it, though. And it's like, for her to be the one to do that, what happened to Maddie? Maury, John, oh, Gabriel. Like, it's like, whoa, it's like, what the fuck, bro? But having everybody be able to transcend except for Clark. Oh, that's gotta hurt. Oh, that's gotta hurt. Major spoiler ahead. The fact that everybody decided to come back, everybody except for Maddie, which I understand that, but everybody decided to come back, knowing that they can't have any offspring, and when they die, they don't transcend, they just die. That's just it for them. You and your friends being the last of humanity ever. And you just hang out with your friends for the rest of your life. It's a gift and it's a bit of a curse. It's funny, at the end of the show, Lexa turns to Clark and she's like, such a curious species. I told them the risks and they didn't seem to care. And I'm just like, yeah, that's millennials for you. We don't give a fuck. I was talking to somebody about that earlier today, and he was like, yeah, I was talking about brother about it. He lives in Florida. He said, how about how millennials don't care about shit? And the brother was like, well, you know what we do during hurricane season? They both said hurricane party. What the fuck is a hurricane party? What is that? What are these words you're saying? What does this mean? Anyway, I don't know. I figured I needed to put something out. And I'm getting real tired of the doom and gloom. Like the real life doom and gloom. That's why I got super sucked into the show. Okay, that's it. Bye. Oh. Like and subscribe or whatever.